Thank you everybody for joining and welcome to Power Hug February. We've got a really nice session for you today from one of our global black belts, Amber Weise. My name is Scott Dwyer. I'm a technical specialist here at Microsoft in the Health and Life Sciences division. We at Power Hug, the healthcare user group, are here to help you on your Power Platform journey regardless of where you are. Be you admin, maker, or user, we want to bring people together. We want to educate you as well as help you to learn from one another. As I know, being in this particular industry, it can be very critical to have some, North Star and some guidance from other folks that are a little bit more like you and not just a technology company like Microsoft. We're here the fourth Thursday of every month. We've been going for a little over a year now. We have now our platform or our user group forum, if you will, on LinkedIn at aka.ms/powerhug-li. You can also find older sessions, previous sessions on our YouTube channel, Power Platform Hug. And we've had all kinds of different topics from both Microsoft internally as well as other customers on governance, adoption, use cases, managing citizen development, more kind of strategic conversations, aligning your organization, different lessons learned. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you haven't already been a presenter and that's something you'd be interested in doing, or you've got a new topic you're thinking of bringing to us, please do get in touch. You probably recognize, if you've been here before, Randall Eichma and I. We do have a couple of new folks from the Microsoft side helping us to organize this. So you'll see the name Brian Braley floating around. He's one of our SSPs on the Power Platform side in our life sciences business. And we also have Chelsea or CJ Richards, who is one of our SSPs as well, covering a variety of healthcare customers. I want to thank you again for taking the time today. Before we get started with Amber, we will have Randall introduce a few of our upcoming events. And I would say this is a little bit longer list than usual. So bear with us and we'll get right into some demos today. We have autonomous agents as the theme today. And I really think you're going to be excited about what we can show to help you understand what has become a big topic, but can be a little bit confusing to onboard to.
All right, thanks, Scott. I appreciate the intro. Everyone, we'll go through these as quickly as possible. A lot of activity in this coming months for AI and Copilot Studio and agents. So we're going to try to get through a lot of that here today in terms of what's coming up and what you can expect and what you can go out and register for to learn more. So next month, obviously, March 27th, exactly a month from now, we're going to have Quantifying the Value of Power Platform with another Microsoft GBB, Susan Albin, who she's going to cover over some metrics and things that you can do to measure the value of what you're getting from Power Platform. Women in Power Platform is another LinkedIn user group. If you're not familiar, go out there, check them out, register. They have a lot of upcoming events around just learning how to use Power Platform, a lot of in-a-day events like Dashboard in a Day and Fabric Analyst in a Day, Copilot Studio in a Day, a lot of different events you can register for that are put on by various partners. So feel free to go out and register for those. A little something early, get it on your calendars. May 19th through 22, we have our Microsoft Build event. That's in person or online. You can register for those digital sessions or go out there and go in person yourself. And I would expect a lot of announcements around Power Platform, Copilot Studio, all those good things happening around Build as well. So some of the things that maybe you're waiting for to see in Power Platform will probably be pushed out, or at least a good effort will be to get them pushed out by that event. Scott, you want to go to the next one? Power Platform Master Series. There's another event for optimizing AI costs. Again, a local team here in Microsoft putting together this series, pulling in various experts across Microsoft as well as in the MVB community to talk to you all about various topics. This one's about optimizing the AI costs using Copilot Studio and other technologies. So now we're diving into some additional events put on by our Power CAT team, which is our customer advisory team. They are some of our experts around Power Platform. They create a lot of the toolkits that you see out there, like COE toolkit, like the automation kit and so forth. And they are covering a variety of topics on AI. And they're going to start March 5th, actually, at 11 a.m. Central. Unlocking the potential of AI with Copilot Studio. You can register there at aka.ms/intro to agents, as well as March 12th, where agents meet opportunity. Again, aka.ms/AI vision value. The rest will probably be weekly after that. However, the registration is not open, but you can still go to those short links, AI risks, AI evolving governance, and AI data to get notifications of when registration is open, so you can register for that event and try to attend those webinars. And then as far as in-person Microsoft events, there's quite a few going on in terms of various tours that are happening across the globe. And we have March through May, we have our Power Platform Tour. So there's been quite a number of events already, but we have more coming through the coming months in Toronto and New York City, Atlanta, Houston, Cambridge, Minneapolis, and Chicago. You can register for those at the mspowerplatform.eventbuilder.com/Power Platform Events. And then again, those will be in person at usually our innovation hubs, where you can meet the Microsoft team and cover off on things on Power Platform. And then we do have another Copilot Studio Tour event happening March 28th in Los Angeles. So if you're in that area and want to take advantage of that, again, you can register for that at the eventbuilder.com/event 89732 and learn more about Copilot Studio and do some of those workshops. So it'll be a deep dive and envisioning workshop, actually. So with that, we're going to hand it off to Amber to get into our topic of the day. It's going to be Copilot Studio Autonomous Agents Show and Tell. Feel free to use the Q&A or the chat feature to ask questions, and we'll get to those as quickly as we can. Otherwise, we're going to probably wait to the end just to answer all questions so she has time to get through everything that she needs. And with that, Amber, the floor is yours.
Awesome. All right. Hey, folks, my name is Amber Weise, part of our Global Black Belt team at Microsoft. So I get to basically see across all of our industries how people are using the Power Platform and Copilot Studio. So I'm really excited today to talk a little bit more about autonomous agents. And as I was getting ready for this session, we called it a show and tell. And I was talking to Randall and I was talking to Scott, and I said, how about if I lean into that show piece, right? I really want to show you guys what's possible here, because we're talking about autonomous agents, and a lot of us understand it at like a theoretical level. I'd love to actually talk about use cases that have been implemented and give you real demos of how this is being used, in hopes that you can then go, aha, I know how I might use this for one of my processes. So before we dive into all the showing, let me just tell you a little bit about what autonomous agents even are. So as you probably heard from Microsoft, right, we have a bunch of agents, agent capabilities that really exist on a spectrum, all the way from simple retrieval of information, right? Think of a typical Q&A bot that I can ask questions about my benefits, right, and get responses, all the way to kind of that middle zone, the middle complexity, where you're looking at task-based tools. So, right, maybe I have my bot that can help me with simple questions about my 401k and my benefits, but maybe it also allows me to do tasks, right? So maybe on my behalf, it goes in and it submits time off for me, or creates a new request for, a new HR ticket, right? And now what we're going to be focusing on is kind of the more advanced side of that, which is the autonomous piece. And these are really these expert systems that are designed to manage and automate these complex business tasks and really enhance the efficiency and innovation within an organization. And really what these agents are is they are proactive, meaning that they automatically respond to signals across our business and then initiate themselves without having human input necessarily. They're independent, so they seamlessly complete tasks behind the scenes. And they also are adaptive, allowing us to produce different outcomes from the same initial conditions. Now that sounds like a word salad. Let me explain what that means. In the past, when we looked at traditional automation, you are building step-by-step processes. And what we're doing now with autonomous agents is we're now moving from a probabilistic approach to a non-deterministic approach, where your agent is going to be able to handle more complexity and more kind of edge use cases. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But these allow us to have proactive, independent, and adaptive solutions in our business. So taking that a step further and bringing this into a product perspective, autonomous agents are a unique set of behaviors. Specifically, we're talking today about Copilot Studio. And they're able to begin work based on more than just a chat request from a human. It could be a record added into a line of business system like ServiceNow. It could be an email arriving into a shared mailbox. It could be a form response, a file being created, even running on a schedule. And these agents really dynamically decide the best path forward at runtime, meaning each agent flow is actually kind of unique depending on the situation. And then the maker gets to provide instructions, kind of giving it guardrails in terms of how it should run and what the expected outcomes are. And then the human can monitor the agent's performance and make sure that everything is working as expected. And something that's coming up soon is eventually agents will even be able to connect to each other to really complete these broader business processes. So I really like this slide. And I think as organizations think about how their work will evolve, autonomous agents are going to play a really pivotal part in that. It really enhances agility, efficiency, and scalability. And so first, talking about agility, autonomous agents can modernize automation by optimizing those existing business processes and improving your legacy technology that you use. This means that we can respond more quickly to changes and adapt to new challenges with ease. Then going into that efficiency category, by innovating with new processes, these autonomous agents kind of unlock those untapped business value. And they connect across your data silos to automate new problems and allowing us to kind of streamline operations and focus on those more strategic tasks. And then lastly, talking about scalability. These agents empower everyone within the organization, enabling end users in every function and department to address their own needs. And a democratization of this technology really ensures that we can scale our operations effectively and efficiently. So the key element to understand with autonomous agents is how they approach and reinvent business processes, right? We know things like Power Automate and Logic apps and writing PowerShell scripts that already exist. But these are not simple rule-based agents. They have their own orchestration engine and reasoning to make the right decision at the right time. So what does that actually mean? It essentially means that we are adapting to scenarios based on a library of knowledge and actions. It also means that each agent run isn't always the same and could potentially pivot based on demands. So let's just quickly compare that. In a traditional kind of step-by-step workflow process, what happens is, the process might break when it's encountering some sort of roadblock. It will follow a pre-defined rule-based workflow, meaning that it doesn't handle kind of those edge use cases well. And it's also, great for control over those repetitive processes. There's still a time and place for these traditional, automations. But when we look at autonomous processes, where they differ is that autonomous processes will find a workaround when they're encountering these roadblocks, right? And so it might escalate to a human to say, hey, how do I want to handle this edge use case? Or it might, learn and adapt over time. It will also decide at runtime which steps need to be taken. So rather than always following, step 1, 2, 3, it follows the steps that it needs to take in order to accomplish the outcome of the agent. And these are really great for those open-ended processes where it's hard to, create a step-by-step workflow that's going to handle every single potential use case. And autonomous agents are really only as powerful as the data that they sit on, which is why Copilot Studio has the 1,500 plus connectors that you can easily connect to your key line of business applications. So if you've used the Power Platform before, you probably have if you're here today, you can easily reuse those connections in your agents. All right, so that is my tell section. Now I'd love to get into some actual use cases and demos of autonomous scenarios, right? Where did these types of agents really thrive and excel, right? So let's actually dive into some of these today. So the first one is actually from McKinsey and Company. It was collaboration with Microsoft, and it was really helping speed up that client onboarding process. And the pilot showed that lead time could actually be reduced by 90%, and also their administrative overhead was reduced by about 30%. And so what this does is it helps identify the right expert capabilities and staffing teams and acts as a single place where colleagues can ask questions and get follow-ups. And so what we're doing is we're streamlining tasks and reducing those manual inputs, potentially saving consultants many hours and really ultimately allowing them to spend more time with their clients. So before I get into the demo of it, let's look at what you're going to see in this demo. The first thing is that your agent automatically reacts to triggers, such as a new email arriving in this case, and it starts automatically. Next, the agent actually follows your instructions. So in this case, we're telling it you are an agent that helps to evaluate and staff incoming engagement requests from clients. I want you to analyze the email, pulling key details out, get the engagement information, and so on. Then the agent actually completes the task, and ultimately it sends the outcome of, hey, you've been assigned a new engagement from somebody in the technology solutions area. So let's actually take a look at what that specifically looks like.
With Copilot Studio, customers now have the power to build autonomous agents to drive AI-first business process. Let's take a look at how McKinsey & Company, one of the largest global management consultancies, is piloting a client service agent with these new Copilot Studio capabilities. Say a prospective McKinsey client sends an email requesting an engagement. As soon as the email is received, the agent gets to work extracting the relevant details. It then follows a series of steps, including verifying any previous engagements with this customer, validating the industry sector, summarizing the client needs, and identifying the appropriate McKinsey expert to meet with the client. It then writes and sends an email to the selected expert with the relevant client details, the agent effectively reasoning over the situation to come to a resolution. It's been given operational guidelines in Copilot Studio, and it can think and act within those guardrails to get the job done. Now let's go behind the scenes to see how the agent was built. It started in Copilot Studio with simple instructions outlining the job it needs to perform. In this case, the agent's tasked with fielding all incoming engagement requests from McKinsey clients. That means it monitors inbound requests, identifies the right McKinsey partner to meet with the customer, and sends an email to finalize the details. The agent has clear triggers, which allow it to work autonomously. It's on 24/7, looking for those triggers. In this case, it's looking for an email. But it could also be triggered by events from a wide range of sources, including line of business applications. The agent has a knowledge base, enabling it to tap into both your productivity data, leveraging the Microsoft Graph, and your line of business systems across knowledge sources like SAP, ServiceNow, and Fabric. Finally, the agent has clearly defined actions it can take to get work done. And you can add new actions from over 1,500 data connectors. Based on the specifics of each incoming request, the agent identifies and executes the most appropriate actions for the situation. If you want to see what the agent is working on, you can go to the Activity tab. You just saw how the agent managed one engagement, but this agent is actively managing dozens of inbound requests from many different clients, all at the same time. You can see its performance at the top, or delve deeper in the Analytics tab. There are some instances when the agent knows it needs to escalate to a human. Let's take a look at one of those. We can see the steps the agent already completed, but then it got stuck. Let's dig deeper to see what happened. It looks like it couldn't find the partner, as he is no longer at the company. This triggered a flow where the agent needed to escalate to a human. Let's jump to BizChat, where we can see the notification from the agent. Copilot presents all relevant information from the manager to verify. The manager decides to manually reassign the engagement to someone else on the team. Now the agent can continue to work, processing the final details and sending an email to the right people. In piloting this agent, McKinsey & Company found lead time could be reduced by 90% and administrative work reduced by 30%. That was just one example of an agent being piloted. Soon, we anticipate every organization will have a constellation of agents that support individual employees, teams, and functions to orchestrate business processes.
Awesome. So some of you folks might have actually seen this example. I believe it was last Ignite that we actually had Satya on stage showing this example from McKinsey & Company. So I think email is such a great place to start, especially shared mailboxes when it comes to autonomous processes. I actually was just working with a customer where we built an out-of-office agent that's supposed to help maintain a shared mailbox when the person that owns it is out of office. So it's able to, call the right actions and route the emails to the right people based on certain instructions that I give it. So Another example
With
that we have here is a device procurement agent. This is one that it's a really common scenario. Device procurement and onboarding being really a common use case here. And before we dive into the specifics of how this works, let's first understand the problem that it addresses. So device procurement delays can often lead to costly operation disruptions. And when new employees start or when devices need to be replaced, any delay in that procurement process can really hinder productivity and cause setbacks. And so this is where this device procurement agent comes in by automating that device ordering process and streamlining that experience. So what that specifically looks like is we have a trigger that is monitoring for a new employee being added to a Dataverse table, meaning that that employee is officially starting at the organization. Then the agent looks at our instructions and we tell it, hey, you're an agent that helps with device procurement. Get device catalog from ServiceNow, send an email to the employee welcoming them and allowing them to choose a device that they want. And then once they choose that, confirm that that device is available and add it into ServiceNow so that we can process that. Then it's actually going to complete all that tasks, send emails out, and create records for us. So let's take a look at this specific example as well. So what we have here is this new hire bot, right, or for getting devices. And so what you see here for triggers is we have when a new email arrives as well as when a new row is added. So notice that we can have multiple triggers on a specific agent. In this case, we're monitoring for any emails that are coming in as well as for new rows being added into that specific Dataverse table. You'll then see some of the actions I have, like creating a new ServiceNow ticket, listing records. And so now I'm actually going to trigger this. I'm going to add in a new employee name into this specific Dataverse table. So I go in and add all that information. And then what I'll do is you can see that I will get a new email that'll pop up here shortly. And we see, welcome to the team, Miguel. So this individual has just been added to that Dataverse record. So our agent said, great, I know how to handle this. Based on the instructions, I'm going to go in and send, go get our device information, right, that we have in ServiceNow, see all the devices that we offer, and then send that back to the person so that they can choose which specific device they might want to procure for themselves. So we give them a couple options, looks great. And now if I look at the activity of that specific agent, we can actually see that, it's currently being processed. So if I click into that, we can see that the specific request has been sent. Now from here, that person's going to go in and respond with which device they want. So cool, I want, this ThinkPad device, and all I have to do is respond back to that person. And because we added that trigger of a new email coming in, the agent knows, oh, okay, cool, I do something with this. So all I'm doing is sending that back to the user saying, hey, thanks for the warm welcome. I want to use this specific device. And so what it does is it then re-triggers our bot and allows us to further, assign that specific device. So now if I look at my new email and I get that trigger, we'll see it pop up here shortly. All right, and refresh. Now I have my new trigger, right? And now I can start to test that. And as you can see, I will get that email back. I sent that email to the individual saying I'm choosing my specific device. And then what we'll see is that new device request confirmation email sent back. So again, instead of having to build in, if somebody responds, then send this, then go, rather than building all that logic in, we just have it created via this autonomous process. And as you just saw, it then added that record into ServiceNow to show me, hey, this device is now ready to be procured, and we've submitted it to our system. So another example of kind of creating a system where it allows for back and forth responses, but rather than the human having to get in the middle and intervene, it handles all of that by itself. All right. Next example I have here is around a supplier discovery agent. And this one, it really helps take a complex and challenging process and really streamlines that. So again, let's take a look end to end what this might look like. So we get triggered by, the agent is triggered by automatically reacting to an inventory surge that's being forecasted in Dynamics 365. And again, promptly kicking off this process without human intervention. And then we look at the instructions. So for example, you can ask the agent to provide a list of suppliers who can help meet the surge. So I might say, hey, analyze market trends, supplier performance metrics, and align to the company's quality, cost, and delivery standards, and get that supplier data from our ERP system and search our internal knowledge base, right? And then, hey, even go and search the web for market conditions, and then aggregate all that information and format that into a report for me with our top 5 suppliers that we could potentially use. So then the agent completes a task using your data and knowledge. This includes accessing a directory of suppliers, analyzing supplier metrics, following procurement guidelines, assessing options with AI, and then creating a comprehensive report. And then it generates that response back to an individual. So for instance, it would produce a supplier recommendation report that contains insights on those top rated suppliers based on the criteria that it was given. So let's see what this one looks like in action.
Let me just orient you around what you're seeing here. So this is the agent here in Copilot Studio. What you'll see at the top is a description. This is like the goal of this agent. So this is kind of gives it its almost like its prime directive on how it should behave, and this makes it discoverable by other agents or other services.
So pausing here real quick, this is a really critical part of autonomous agents because it's a non-deterministic workflow. We're really, instead of looking at, hey, was each step successful or not, right, with like typical automations, right now we're kind of, the success criteria is measured based on outcome. So giving it a description allows it to know what is its expected outcome and what is the goal that it is specifically trying to achieve.
As you then scroll down, you will see the instructions. Now, these declarative or simple natural language statements, this is what drives this agent. So this is what, at runtime, it decides how it's going to use knowledge, how it's going to use actions, how it's going to use memories, and so on. And it's basically running this process from start to finish at runtime. So if I scroll down, so you can see here, just to kind of call out the use case, you can see here it's going to parse a request. It's going to look up the ERP, so usually a complex task, dipping into an ERP, whether that's SAP, Oracle, or Dynamics. It's going to look across an internal knowledge base, so SharePoint, files, whatever you have. It's going to do some analysis on the web. And then the 5th and 6th step there, you see we're going to use the O1 action node. So it's for Omni running this orchestration, but it's going to be O1 that's going to do some deep reasoning. And the reason why we want deep reasoning here is because it's a complex task with so many variables. So the output of this will be effectively a report that will generate a recommendation for a new supplier to meet either a surge in demand. So as I scroll down, you will see some of these sources. So you see the knowledge sources, which grounds it. We can see some actions. So to pull that list of suppliers from ERP, there's the reason with O1 node. And then the real key to an autonomous agent is triggers. So this is where this Copilot agent is going to be called into action. Now that can be from Planner when you assign it a task. That can be a time of day. That can be a database entry or change. That can be from any system. For example, if I was to just try and add a trigger here, I could easily say when a new lead lands in Salesforce. And I would just say when a record is created or modified. And similarly, if I wanted to bring in new actions, I could say I want to retrieve POs from SAP. So I could just add actions, add triggers. These are the key building blocks that gives it, or that allows business outcomes and allows these kind of high ROI scenarios. So now that I've kind of walked you through this agent, probably the first thing people are saying is like, let's test it. Let's see it in action. And then how do I observe it in action? How do I know it's doing what I want it to do? So I'm going to test the agent here. And I want to test specifically this trigger. So this trigger has been set up from Dynamics 365 F&O, and it's for a surge in demand. So planned surge in demand, which is going to need more inventory. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to test this trigger. So you'll see there's some triggers we saved earlier on. So I'm going to test one of those. That could have easily been just come from any system or tool. And you'll see on the right here, first of all, this is the payload of what the trigger. This is the context of the trigger that was passed into this agent. And you see it already. I can see from everyone's eyes that you're watching all those steps. That's the orchestration, so the planner and orchestration at work. It's going through those steps at runtime based on just those simple instructions and actions and knowledge sources that we've given it, and it is now executing. So from the top, we can see that it's gone into ERP, and it's retrieved some values. It's gone into these various knowledge sources, SharePoint, and then it's gone through searching the web for any context on the suppliers that you already had in your database, looking across your guidelines and policies and benchmarks and metrics for how you would choose suppliers, and then it's searching the web for any additional context. This is one of the big things across all the supply chain disruptions we've had in the last few years, was that we weren't pulling in context of suppliers and issues with news. So by going to the web, you're bringing all the latest market share and context to bear. And then we pass all of that into the O1 reasoning node. Again, this is a deep reasoning node. And then the final step, which was just to create a report in a user-friendly HTML format. So you can see that at the end. So we see it's already come back, which was pretty fast considering O1 model was used here for that step. And it's given a report with a link. So in this situation, it basically passed the report on to the supply chain manager who was in charge of this particular area and just gave the recommendation report. So I'm going to click on this report, and you'll see what it's produced. So this is all being produced just based on some guidelines and some steps of what people were looking for. So I think that deserves an applause.
All right, so this example is another great example where building a step-by-step workflow for something like this would be next to impossible, because what you need is that AI reasoning, and you need that orchestration to be able to call the right steps at the right time. So what this allowed us to do is look at our internal content, go reference information on the web, and then come back and give us information to allow the humans to make the ultimate final decision. So another great example of where we're really leaning into that orchestration and the AI to handle our workflow for us. Now, one that I have here is actually around pets at home. Another real life example, Pets at Home is the UK's leading pet care business. And they created one for profit protection, specifically for that team to look at retail fraud. And that's a growing issue that really is provides a lot of challenges for their business, leading to losses that affect their bottom line. So what this process actually does is it really, first, again, it's going to be triggered by a new email arriving with a user saying something along the lines of, hey, I need a return for this item that came, it was damaged or it was defective or whatever that might be. Then our agent uses the instructions to take that information, that complaint or whatever it might be, and process that information and take the appropriate steps. And then it completes the task using the available data and the knowledge that we give it. So this includes tasks like processing refunds or replacements, updating the company website, managing a self-service portal better, and analyzing issues and sending messages on receipt. So finally, that agent generates a response. So in this case, it might, for example, notify you that the refund agent needs your approval on a replacement request, right? So what we're doing in this case is we're pulling in a human only for the parts where a human is needed, rather than in the past having this be a step-by-step process that a human would have to take through, would have to walk through each specific step. In this case, it does the reasoning for it, and then the human comes in for that final intervention. So let's take a look again at a video here of how this specifically works.
Now let's pivot to agents and specifically how they can help service reps. Service needs to be able to address customer issues quickly and effectively. Let's imagine a customer who placed an order for an aquarium kit is struggling to set it up. They're understandably frustrated and they're asking for a refund. As soon as the email is sent, your agent gets to work, extracting the relevant details like the customer's name and contact information, the product that was purchased, and details of the issue. Your agent knows this is a common problem with this product, so it doesn't need to escalate to a human and automatically sends an email response to the customer. This means your employees can focus on more high-touch situations. The customer receives an email generated by the agent that acknowledges her issues and frustration, and added a step-by-step video assembly guide produced by the service team to address this very issue. In just a few seconds, your agent was able to make the customer happy and keep the sale. These agents are simple to build and use, enabling you to scale your team's capacity like never before. Let's go behind the scenes to see how the agent was built in Copilot Studio. This customer service agent was built with a set of natural language instructions on how I want it to work. In this case, the agent's job is to resolve customer issues. The agent is given triggers, which is how the agent begins its work autonomously. It's always on, looking for these triggers. In this case, incoming emails when a replacement or refund is requested. It's also been given a large knowledge base, connecting the agent to your productivity, business, and analytical data. Finally, the agent has a list of actions it can take to accomplish tasks. It will determine when to execute each action, rather than having them specified by a human. If you ever want to see what the agent is working on, you can do so in the Activity tab. Here's the aquarium case we just resolved. In this view, you can see the agent's thought process. It took the customer's email address and looked for recent orders in the sales system to find the exact aquarium set. It then compared this customer's issue to reviews of the product and saw that assembly was a common complaint. And the agent was able to find the video that a colleague made and posted to the support pages to help customers navigate this tricky assembly. Your customer service team would spend more time processing the issue, finding a resolution, communicating with the customer, and logging the interaction. Agents save time and serve more customers. But not every issue is simple. Each case is unique, requiring the agent to adapt and know when to escalate to a member of the team. Let's go back to the activity feed, where we can see a history of all the cases the agent has worked on. Over 90% of them were successfully resolved. Let's take a look at a more complex scenario where the agent escalated to a human. In this case, a customer is looking for a replacement because the product arrived damaged. What you will notice is that the agent took a couple of unique steps. The agent sent a follow-up email to the customer asking for an image of the problem. Next, it reviewed the photo to confirm the product was indeed damaged and that a replacement should be sent. As the item exceeds a certain value, it needs to be flagged for human review. This triggers a Copilot escalation to the customer service team. Here, all the supporting evidence and background information is presented for review and approval. A team member verifies the details and authorizes the replacement. For the final step, the agent processes the replacement request and sends an email to the customer with the update. Let's see another example. This is a marketing agent triggered whenever a case is successfully resolved by the customer service agent we just saw. If we jump to the Activity tab, you can see that the agent generated an automatic email with a great opportunity for an additional sale. Let's take a look at the email that this agent generated. You can see it recognized the previous customer issue, it pulled their pet information, and recommended a relevant product and sale for their pet. We anticipate the capabilities of individual agents will only continue to grow, and organizations will increasingly rely on more and more agents to help their people get work done. Soon, every role, function, and department will have agents working alongside people, delivering cost savings and increased revenue.
So I really love this example. And while I recognize that we're in the Power Hug team, right? Most of you folks aren't probably selling aquariums. I think it's a great example of how we can communicate with customers, maybe around, like medical devices, right? Hey, I have this CPAP machine that I was given and there's a defect in the tubing, right? So being able to have this experience where, yes, it can handle those simple, like, hey, here's a setup guide, right? Let's just kind of do that almost self-service model. But as you saw, it can also say, hey, it looks like there's a refund request or a replacement request for over $200 in this case. What we want to do is then bring in a human in the loop to give that final approval. So I think this is a great example of how it can handle the simple kind of, hey, let me send you an email back to the customer, giving them better instructions on how to set up this specific device, but also handling that kind of back and forth between users and pulling in a human for that final decision making. So another great example here. All right, the last one I have for you is around a manual due diligence. I can't say that fast. Due diligence process. And really what this does is manual due diligence processes are costly and consume that valuable human capital. And lawyers often spend countless hours sifting through documents, analyzing data, and compiling reports, which can be obviously very inefficient. And so this is where that legal due diligence agent comes in, that specifically was actually developed with Microsoft for Thomson Reuters. So exploring what that specifically does, right? What we're doing is we're being triggered by a request that's being made specifically from the Copilot. And then what happens from there is that we perform a due diligence review for a business, and we tell it to compare what information is provided and what's expected and identify anything that might potentially be missing. And so it goes in, it lists folders in SharePoint, extracts file contents, and completes the review. So the outcome here is that ultimately what we want to do is complete that due diligence review for a specific company and have that, then sent over to the individual. So in our final demo here, let's take one last look at how this process specifically works.
Thomson Reuters are a global technology and content company supporting professionals with legal, tax, media, and more. Today, I want to focus on their legal services for acquisitions, where they assess value and risks through due diligence. This is typically a highly manual, weeks-long task for their lawyers, and Copilot and agents are shortening parts of this process by almost 50%. Let me show you. I'm starting in Microsoft 365 Copilot, where I can access all the agents I need to work efficiently at Thomson Reuters.
So let's pause there for one quick second. You'll notice that my other examples where we were starting in an email or creating a record or something like that. One awesome thing about Copilot Studio is that it allows us to extend other first-party Copilots like, M365 Copilot. So when I build an agent, I can actually call that agent from M365 Copilot and have that expert kind of help me along the way. So you'll notice that we're in a different UI, but it allows us to kind of have this one-stop shop for asking questions about, hey, prep me for my next team meeting, but also doing things like assisting in this case, a due diligence process.
I've built several agents, like this one, to streamline my daily tasks and support my team in managing core business processes. I'm using my agent in Microsoft 365 Copilot to review my customers' compliance and governance records, looking for any red flags that could signal future risks. With a quick request, identify any red flags in Woodgrow's compliance and governance records, I get an immediate, comprehensive answer. The agent goes beyond the surface scan, diving into documents, SharePoint, and other systems to reveal every critical detail and ensure no surprises in this acquisition. I don't just want my agents to support me in chats, I need them working in the background too, which is possible with autonomous agents. With the Co-Counsel agent, whenever a new folder is created in SharePoint, it automatically runs, checking documents against a checklist and notifying me when it's complete. This time, it flagged unexpected revenue variations and recommended further reviews. These agents, all built in Copilot Studio, are transforming due diligence by uncovering risks, streamlining reviews, and surfacing insights quickly. Let's see how you can create one. Here in Copilot Studio, I can view all my agent's details. I started by setting its instructions, which guide responses, set goals, and establish guardrails. These instructions leverage all my configured knowledge sources, files, SharePoint sites, websites, and more, ensuring the agent uses the same data my team relies on. This gives it the context to work like a team member, performing reviews to Thomson Reuters standards, thorough, consistent, and compliant.
Another thing I'll call out here, folks, is you'll notice that one of the knowledge sources is actually Azure AI Search. And so with Copilot Studio, you get a lot of capabilities out of the box, from pre-built knowledge sources and out-of-the-box LLM, out-of-the-box analytics and channels. But the point with Copilot Studio is that we want you to be able to extend when needed. So in this case, there's this Co-Counsel Azure AI Search happening, right? We wanted to use some pro dev capabilities in this bot And what that allows us to do is really extend this and have that no cliffs approach to low code development, which is something that you folks have seen in Power Automate, Power Apps, right? It's just continuing that capability of let's help you build and use a lot of out of the box features to get there quicker, but also why not fall back on pro dev services when you have those really unique requirements? So let's finish this video up.
The agent also respects all access controls in SharePoint and Microsoft 365, follows information protection labels, and upholds our data loss prevention policies, keeping sensitive data secure. The agent's strength lies in its robust knowledge base, allowing it to deliver relevant and reliable support. By clicking Add Knowledge, we can expand its insights beyond SharePoint and Dataverse, helping it dive deeper to identify the root causes of unexpected revenue variations. The answer is Azure AI Search. And now it can be configured directly from within Copilot Studio to work with your agents. We can choose Azure AI Search as a knowledge source to give our agent access to documents like financial statements, tax returns, and accounts receivable. You have full control over which documents and data points are indexed, allowing you to create a custom data set for due diligence. Here, I'll set it up to use the financial statements and revenue records that are most relevant. Azure AI Search advanced reasoning and customization capabilities make this process fast and efficient for companies like Thomson Reuters. And here you go, you can quickly configure the connection. The agent will now be able to use this as additional knowledge. Let's hop back into Microsoft 365 Copilot to check out how the agent's answer gets even better. When the agent runs the due diligence review again, it pinpoints exactly why those variations occurred, thanks to the Azure Data Boost. With Azure AI Search, the agent now provides richer and more detailed insights into the due diligence process, as shown by the depth of this response. Knowledge is crucial for agents. Just as we rely on information to make decisions, agents need continuous learning and data to evolve to meet user needs. I want to understand how the data I added is performing and being used. That's where the Knowledge Curator comes in. By clicking View Suggestions, I can see how the curator analyzes the data and recommends improvements. With this new feature in Copilot Studio, I can easily filter sources and even add custom knowledge to fill gaps in the knowledge base. Analytics are essential for agent success, providing insights for improvement and user alignment. The new Analytics screen offers a clear view of interactions and areas for growth, ensuring the agent meets expectations. Regular reviews help make data-driven adjustments to maintain accuracy and effectiveness. Copilot Studio enables you to bring everything you have in Azure right to your Microsoft Copilot. This unlocks the power of Azure for any agents you create.
Awesome. So finishing on an example where we're able to extend that with Azure and use Copilot Studio for all of its goodness, right? The orchestrator, the actions, the pre-built channels, right? But then using Azure AI as kind of that boost to help us with this specific use case. So I know that was a lot of demos, but I really think I wanted to take this kind of conceptual thing that we're talking about and bring it into reality and talk about real use cases where we're leveraging this. And I think about a lot of my customers are asking me, like, where do I get started? And while getting started with a solution that saves you $50 million a year would be amazing, I think back to my days of when I started with Power Apps, Power Automate, and a lot of that was just building solutions that made my life easier, my team's life easier. And so I really recommend starting to look at something like I explained this out of office bot that I was building for a team, just making your lives easier and starting to understand how it thinks, how it reasons, and how it responds to different scenarios. And then from there, of course, we'll build up our experience and be able to build out these really robust solutions. So if you're unsure where to get started, I say look at those day-to-day solutions that you need for your own job or your team needs for their own tasks to be able to do that. So just to wrap up this section here, we really showed you a few popular examples for autonomous agents, but we want you to think about how these scenarios could apply to the scenarios that you currently have today. Right? Where are there business processes that have more volatility or have more more runs that maybe don't meet the happy path, or where you need that reasoning agent to come in and provide insights and ideas for you. There's a lot of capabilities here today. So with that, I know we're at about 5 minutes left. If you want to learn more, there's a ton of different learning content out there. And we'd be, your Microsoft team would be happy to support you all in having further conversations of how you could use this at your organization. So I'm going to actually turn it back over to Scott and Randall, just for them to close out and see if we have any time for questions.
I'm still muted. Randall, just chime in if there's questions that went unanswered. Big thank you to Amber. I really can't thank you enough. Seeing this stuff, I think in real use cases that our other customers are using is the best way to kind of spur the ideas. And I love the idea of focusing on those personal productivity use cases to understand what it can do for you. And then just letting that kind of naturally grow to what that can do for your team, what that can do for your organization. We'll continue to be here every Thursday. I would love to see everybody join us on our LinkedIn group for PowerHug, as well as going back through any of our YouTube channels. If you are not connected to Randall, Brian, Chelsea, and I on LinkedIn, I encourage you to do so as well. And if anybody is interested in speaking, we've got March booked out for next month on quantifying the value of the Power Platform, another session that hopefully will help you to see the sort of story that Microsoft is telling and how your organization can realize it. And if you're ever interested in speaking, just reach out to us via whatever channel you like. We'd love to hear from you. And unless there are questions, we will wrap up at that with one last thank you to Amber.
Yep, I'm not seeing any questions.
Lovely. Thanks everybody for coming. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you in about 4 weeks.
All right, thanks, Amber. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Amber.
Thanks, folks.